was taking this Adderall and I wasn't taking care of my body. And then one night, it led to me having a spiritual awakening. Because I was literally going through like some sort of spiritual psychosis. It just like sparked my third eye open and I was just so freaked out. And ever since then, I've been able to like see energy and feel energy. And at first it was terrifying. The last 5 years, I've been able to learn more and deepen my gifts even more and know that I'm channeling love and light instead of like the freaky.
Helen DeCipio, welcome to the Coherent Collective podcast.
Woo woo! I didn't even realize I had my crystal in my hand, but woo woo!
Woo, woo. I'm so grateful that you're joining. You and I have known each other for a handful of years at this point, and I cannot picture my life without you in it. But I think that what is really important for everyone to know is how we met. We met because I was on the hunt for a social media manager. And when I was on this hunt, I was very particular about the type of person that I wanted. And I wanted someone who understood human design and had a natural gift of understanding the landscape of social media as a result of understanding human design. And you popped into my lap, figuratively, not literally, that would have been weird. And and we've been on the fast track of besties since. And so I'm so grateful that you're joining. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your gifts, and you are a jack of all trades, and I think that has, if you are familiar with human design, you would understand as a result of that she is a manifesting generator. And your gifts, like, because you have so many abilities and natural and natural gifts, I wanted to rewind the clock a bit and talk about how you got to where you are, because I think your story is really special, and I also believe that it will help a lot of people who might be experiencing this sort of journey of like, it's frankly, it's an awakening. It was a big time wake up call as to what works and what doesn't work for an individual. And you had to grow quick and fast with a lot of things, and then you experimented with a lot of others. And so let's rewind the clock a little bit to where it all began in high school for you. If you can tell us a little bit about your journey as a student and what your experience was and your goals, and how you supported yourself in that way.
Yeah. And I almost feel like it probably even started before high school because I think like what you're leading into is just like my journey with ADHD and then also the connection to taking stimulants and Adderall and Vyvanse and yeah, school. I guess I could say it was like really hard for me because I am a Virgo and I was always a perfectionist and I always like found my worth in my grades and I was just like I'm literally a social media manager, like gonna be an acupuncturist, like psychic, human design reader, like did graphic design, all these things that weren't taught in school. So there weren't a lot of opportunities for me to kind of like shine and realize my gifts. And so I really took that pretty hard and I, you know, just started taking a ton of hard classes in I guess high school, but also then it went to college. And I needed to find my worth through my schooling. And so I was a bio major in college and I did pre-med and it was just like very stressful because I was doing all these things that weren't natural for me. And that's actually a huge part of my human design, which I don't know if we're gonna go into that later, but I'm really meant to do the things that I'm naturally good at and also the things that excite me. So I was kind of pushing myself to do all these things that I was trying to find my worth in, not my excitement in. And that kind of really made me struggle. And it led me down the road of taking stimulants and taking Adderall and Vyvanse. And I had like a diagnosis. Um, and I kind of put that in air quotes because I think like when you have ADHD, usually you're able to like hyperfixate on things and like you get really excited about things. And like now knowing human design, I know you're meant to follow your energy. And so I had this diagnosis, but I was also in my own life not following my energy. And I was doing things that I didn't have energy for and that I needed to take Adderall and Vyvanse for. And so it got to a point in college. So that was kind of like I didn't start taking medication in high school or middle school, but I got my diagnosis in middle school, I think. And then in college I started taking Adderall and Vyvanse. Um, but then yeah, it got to a point where I there was some sort of like just need and dependency that I relied on these medications to get my work done and find my flow in my work, which just really didn't work at all. If anyone who's listening like has taken Adderall and Vyvanse, like yes, it can really work for people, but it also can like just make you hyperfixate on like making a to-do list for like all the things that you have to do. And so I would take it and it got to the point where I was taking it and then I would stay up for a day. And then the next time I would stay up for 2 days, and then the next time I would stay up for 3 days. And it got really freaky, obviously, because I wasn't sleeping and I was taking this Adderall and I wasn't taking care of my body because I wasn't hungry because I was taking the Adderall. And then one night, it led to me having a spiritual awakening because I was literally going through like some sort of spiritual psychosis. And it just like sparked my third eye open. It, uh, the specific night that I'm talking about, I had stayed up for 3 nights in a row and I was finally going to sleep and I was going to sleep in like my parents' room. Cause it was like 2020, I believe, at the end of 2020, and I was back in school, in college, and I was at my parents' house. Cause weird times, you know. But I was in my bed and I was trying to go to sleep and I remember waking up in the middle of the night and there was like a figure over me. And I got so scared that I had to like go up to my parents' room and sleep with them and I was just so freaked out. And ever since then, I've been able to like see energy and feel energy and at first it was terrifying and I was definitely inviting low frequencies in and over the course of that time, or over the course of the last 5 years, I've been able to learn more and deepen my gifts even more and know that I'm channeling love and light instead of like the freaky energy that I was channeling at first. Um, but yeah, I had to do it quickly, but it's also been a very long road.
Yeah. I also wanna like, I had taken Adderall only one time in college, and it was given to me by a friend, and I thought that I needed it because I was a library lover, and I would spend so much time studying for all of the exams. It didn't matter what time of year it was. I was always in the library. But this one this one week for finals, I had almost all of my finals like in one day. And I remember being like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I need to take something. And when I took it, like to your point, I was I couldn't fall asleep. And like that night, it was one of those things where I tried to go to sleep because I knew the next day I had all of my finals And I was tossing and turning because the stimulant was just running rampant in my body, and I said never again. So I can't even imagine what it was like to have multiple nights of no sleep and then all of a sudden start to like experience what you experienced in in a psychosis, right? Like it's must have been so big. Like the energy must have felt so intense in that time frame.
Yeah, and, um, yeah, now that well, I just had a reading yesterday, and sorry to get into something, like, so specific, but I had a reading yesterday with someone who is kind of having similar experiences that I had at the beginning, and just to kinda describe, like, what negative energy is, it's like you don't wanna invite anything into your sphere. And it's just like because they were kinda like, "Oh, but I feel curious and I feel interested," and I was like that. I was like, "Okay, come, like, help me, whoever, whatever," and it's like, that's like inviting any single person into your home. Like, any single person off of the street into your home. And so and they can be doing bad things, and they just you just invite them into your home. And, like, so that's kind of a parallel to, like, if you haven't experienced this, it's like, that's kind of what I was doing because I had no idea, it was just burst open, and I think my guides were like, "You need to have a wake-up call, and you need to this needs to happen for your life to change," you know? But it was really scary. Yeah, and with the Adderall, like, I mean, it's addictive. That's the thing, and then, like, once I would take it, I just wouldn't stop taking it because I wouldn't wanna have to go down, you know what I mean? It was kind of like I could go months without taking it, but once then I took it, it was like I would just keep taking it, and it got to a point where it wasn't that bad at first, and then it got worse, and a lot of, if you've ever read Dopamine Nation, a lot of or the author talks about that, of like, that's kind of how addictions work, of like, it can be a little at the beginning and then your brain wants more and then more and then more and then more, you know? Yeah.
Did so what was the turning point for you where you realized like I can't do this anymore? Was it that when you started seeing things?
No, it wasn't until the next April because I was in pre-med, and it's so weird thinking about it now because I'm in school again to become an acupuncturist, which is Eastern medicine, and I was studying Western medicine before. And I was in school, and it wasn't until that next April when like my thesis was due and all of these big things were due, and I just remember being in the car with Bill, my husband, and being like, all of a sudden, it was like I almost like screamed like, "Whoa." There's like a screech outside my window from the street. At the same time as I said that, I like screamed like, "No, like I can't do this anymore." And so it wasn't even all this crazy stuff that was happening. It was I don't even know. Like, it was just, like, accumulation of stress, and all of a sudden, my soul was just speaking, and my intuition was speaking, and it wasn't the right path for me.
Mm. Did you did you have support along the way when you decided to make this decision, or was the decision so apparent that it didn't really require much other than just you making that choice?
You know, it's interesting because I feel like back then, like, obviously, I had Bill, I had my family, I had friends, but I was always very like, I almost take more support and need more support now with my decision making than I did before, and sometimes that's really exhausting because it's like, "Why do I have to, analyze this and, like, move through this and process this?" But before I was just kind of like, no, I'm doing what I'm doing. And like, nobody could tell me what to do back then, you know? So it really was just like, I can't do this and I'm not doing it.
Um,
Yeah.
when you when you decided that you can't do this anymore, you completed school
Mm.
as a pre-med, and then after school you decided to take a different career path. How come? What was the decision? Did you have to have discussions with people? And how did you get started?
Um,
That was a lot of
I
questions. No.
what?
That was a lot of questions all at the same
Oh,
time.
no, 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 that's good. It, like, makes me smile because I was just reflecting on this past version of me because someone asked me, like, "How do you post on Instagram all the time? And don't you feel cringe? Don't you worry about what people think about you?" And literally in 2021 is when I started my business, and I started as a virtual assistant, and it really was just, like, a gateway to, like, get myself out there, I feel like, but I started working for people and it ended up I can talk more about that, but I feel like that I'm so grateful for that period of my life and for being brave enough even though I felt so cringe and I felt so alienated because I had literally just gone through my spiritual awakening. We had just graduated from college. I was completely alone. And it just was I felt so weird. But I went through this period of being like, I'm just gonna post on social media and I'm gonna make this happen and I'm gonna make my business happen. And I feel so grateful for that version of myself because it's like I faced a lot of freaking fears. And now when I post, I'm just like, whatever. Like this is just like what I want to be doing. Um, but definitely back then I was like, I have no idea what I want to do because that was pre-med was my identity. And I like also even just like the stress of school was my identity, studying was my identity. And so I definitely took some time, and luckily my rent wasn't that much back then to just figure out what I wanted to do. And then I found a virtual assistant training course, and that's how I started. And that was actually the thing that encouraged me to start posting online, and to create my Instagram. Yeah.
Did someone suggest that you do VA work? Like, how did it?
Yes,
Oh,
actually, one of my friends, Emiko, who you met, she was like, "Oh, this girl's doing this. You should look at it." Or like something like that. Like I forget, maybe she's I don't know. Somehow she sent me this video and I ended up buying the course and I ended up doing everything the girl said. And I ended up even like using the website program that she used. And that's how I then became a website and brand designer. And so it was just, I don't know, very it was also awesome because then I could start using my creative side too, and my like, I learned how much I love business through it because I was a business minor in school too, but that wasn't something I was focusing on, you know?
mhm. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the evolution from VA work to social media management, and then your and then how you started incorporating astrology and human design and basically like esoteric studies into these fields because it's such a unique angle, and I think people should hear about it.
So
Just saying.
and you guys should hear about
You
this.
need
Get
to know.
ready.
You need
And
it.
you need to freaking know.
Sit
Um,
down and listen.
you better be listening to my story right now. So now I'm like, what was the question? But I remember it. In so in 2020, so my I'm gonna probably talk about him a lot because he's a huge part of my life. But my husband, Bill, we've been together for 12 years now and we've been together since we were 16. But in 2020, we broke up. And I had another friend who broke up with her boyfriend at that time, so randomly, but we were living together and we ended up watching tarot videos like every single day. And that's how we got into astrology and that's how we got into tarot. And that was before I went through all my crazy things. So that was kind of like is a premonition, is that the right word? I don't know, a little hint of what was coming for me. But that's how I got into astrology, and I also just really related to being a Virgo, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Almost too much at the beginning because I started to put myself in a box, and I think with those systems, you don't wanna ever let yourself be in a box, but I learned eventually. I have many parts. And then I went through the spiritual awakening and I started doing the VA work, and it just so happened that I started doing a lot of VA work for women who own spiritual businesses. So I was working for a yoga teacher, and I was working for a breathwork coach, and I was working for a body positivity energy coach. I don't know exactly what her title is, but something along those lines. And it was very interesting work. And I just started marketing myself as a spiritual VA. And then I started getting into brand and website design because I love doing that for myself. And I was always artistic as a kid. And I just always loved making things pretty. And so I started doing that and did that for a little bit and worked with a ton of spiritual businesses, also worked for um different types of businesses, but mostly I worked for a lot of life coaches. I did, yeah, spiritual teachers. So it really just was the whole vibe, spirituality. And then I took a human design course. And that's when everything kind of, I was gonna say everything changed, but it it did alter my life path because learned human design. And for those of you who don't know what human design is, it's a system similar to astrology, and it really tells you about the mechanics of your energy and how you interact with the world. And that kind of sounds simple, but it is a life hack and it helps you so much with just how to excel in life and how to interact with the world around you in a very easeful way. And I did that course. I started doing human design readings, and that's I'm just smiling because I was so nervous at first to do that, but I got down a system of doing that. Meanwhile, still doing brand and website design, but I started adding in human design into my work for people, for my brand and website design clients, because human design can also help you, highlight the parts of you that can be seen through your business as well. And then I took Mika's course, who's been on this podcast, and Joanna and I took it together. And that unlocked my ability to do psychic readings for people. And I really ran with that because I loved it so much. And I started doing human design and psychic readings. And meanwhile, doing social media management for people. And so it's kind of just all come together like that.
Do you I just feel like it's such an interesting blend of skill sets that you have, and when people come to you, I know certainly like my experience of being in your energy is that like we could be talking about one thing, but the way that your mind and vision works for putting all of these like pieces together, it really is. It's like you could see somebody's like brand in a millisecond, but also the aesthetics of the brand, the positioning of the brand, the energy that people should put behind the positioning of the brand, how people should speak about it. Like you also are able to feel into like just the natural gifts of the other. And I think it's because these are natural gifts of yourself. Um, and that's just something that is so unique and innately available to who you are, and I think that understanding your human design has helped you, like, push those things out there even further because similar to you, you know, I've taken I've ta had astrology readings, and there are really good astrologers out there, but I think astrology, like, just to add to it, it's like there's a difference, right? Like, astrology can tell you, like, almost like the weather about yourself, and it tells you the weather about, like, what's ahead and how you can prepare for the weather, and that's great. Meanwhile, human design literally tells you, like, hey, if you get in this car, you know you could drive it exactly this way, right? And you can and like that way it's almost like it's just like quick and easy. But you can also hyper identify with it. You know, like I definitely hyper identified with my human design for a while, to a point where it like inhibited me, I think, from doing a little bit too much, because in my mind I was like, I'm supposed to take 28 days as a reflector to come back with a decision. And even if something was like eating away at me for days and days and days and days on end, right? Like it's still like, and that should be enough of a clue. It like I was like, "No, I still need more time to wait," or "I still need more people to talk to," or "I still this," and it's like it's self-sabotaging. And I think like when you started getting into your human design, like I've seen your evolution too, in terms of like going from um posting mostly for other people, and it's still a big passion of yours, but then being able to like really post for yourself and use your voice authentically. And it's such like you're doing it in a way where your two line and your four line are like super super coming together, because you're just going with the flow, going with your emotions and following those urges. And then at the same time, it's like you're just speaking to your buddies out there, and you're doing it in such a way that like truly feels natural. So so just going full circle for a second, I think what's really cool, that something that you brought up, is how you did start with studying for conventional medicine, and then you navigated your way all the way to this world of western, or sorry, eastern approaches to the mind, body, and spirit. Have you always had a curiosity? It seems like you've always had a curiosity for understanding the body if you were in pre-med, in school, or did you think that you wanted this, and because it was what other people had success with, or something like that? Like how did you sign up for pre-med versus like you're following your um story to here?
Well, I I actually, this memory came back to me the other day when I was in class and I was giving someone a massage. As a kid, I wanted to be a massage therapist. And so it's so interesting because massage is such a big part of acupuncture, and I'm in a master's program to become an acupuncturist right now, for everyone who doesn't know that. But I don't know if we said that. But I feel like I always loved helping people, and I always loved taking care of people, and I always loved bettering people as well, and like helping them be their best selves. And well, what got me into Western medicine was 100% pimple popping videos. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
dermatologist. I wanted to do that. Which is funny because now it's like the last thing I do. I like never pop my pimples. Um, but I really like that, like genuinely, I remember rushing a sorority and telling one of the girls that I was rushing with that, and they were like, "Okay," and I was like, "Oh god, I probably shouldn't have said that." But genuinely, that's why. And I also see, again, it was to prove myself
Mhm,
and my
mhm,
worthiness.
mhm.
And so I think I always wanted to do that, but I was for different reasons. And then after, going through that phase from graduating school to like what I just explained of being a social media manager, and then to going to my first acupuncture appointment, it was mind-blowing because, and this was after I, was spiritual, and this was a year ago, a year and a half ago. And I mean, you were the one that told me to go.
It was me.
Also, Joanna was the one to tell me to go to acupuncture, and it was for such a random injury. I, like, had something, like, it was not a regular thing. I just had something weird, like a rib that went out, and I went to the acupuncturist, and then she started asking me about my period and, like, my acne and all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh, like, yeah, if you can help me with that, like, yes." And then I remember sitting on the table, and she was holding my legs, and she had an herbs between my legs, and she was, like, holding my heels, and she was seeing how my body reacted to each of the herbs in between my legs, and immediately I was sold. The other thing that sold me on acupuncture was they ask 10 questions at the beginning of the session just to gauge where you're at and where your body's at, and it was the first time I felt so seen because sorry, I'm getting into a lot of different topics,
No, I
but
love it.
I I struggled with, like, a lot of health issues, classic, just, like, sensitive gal, spiritual gal, but, like, I struggled with a lot of health issues, and I, at one point, had levels of, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and I was able to heal that mostly by not eating gluten. But I went to a lot of doctor's offices and I never had a comfortable experience because it was always just like in and out, boom, 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 15 minutes, and this is what you have, 15 minutes, or you should go to this person next. And it was just, it never felt personal and it never felt yeah, holistic. And there were a few doctors in there that I really appreciated, but it was still just not the type of medicine that I needed, and that was going to heal my body. So when I had this acupuncture appointment and she was doing that and she asked me the questions and she asked me so much about myself and I told what felt like my whole life health story to her. Um and just had the feeling of like, "Oh my god, you actually wanna know this about me? This is crazy." But after that appointment, I was like, "I'm sold," and that's what got me into Eastern medicine, and yeah. So, in summary, I feel like I have always known, but there was a part of me that wasn't awakened, and I'm so grateful for the time that I had between the time that I graduated college and starting acupuncture school.
While you've been in acupuncture school, you've made a lot of physical improvements, not just spiritual and energetic, but truly like you've seen some serious healing happen in quite a short period of time, I would imagine. Like if you're because you're not doing a lot of other interventions, right? So as a result of just by being a student and participating in regular um practices for acupuncture, you've seen change. Can you talk about the befores and afters of what you're already experiencing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, acupuncture is so crazy because I don't think many people know to the extent of what it can help with. Um, there are only a few things that acupuncture can't help with, like broken bones. If you're having like a severe heart problem, that's just like a random example. If you're having like a life and death example, or uh situation or whatever, then you wanna go to urgent care, or you wanna go to the emergency room. But all these other things, all these other systems of our body that just need support, like acupuncture can help you with that. So I started really going to acupuncture for my skin. And I had such bad acne, like literally such bad acne. I would have like 10 huge cysts on my face at a time. And now my skin is like literally clear. So it's like it helped so much. And the thing with acupuncture is it's going to the root and also herbs. So I'm studying herbal medicine as well, Chinese herbal medicine. So it's going to the root and so it's going to take a little bit more time. Like it's not just like taking spironolactone or something. It's going to take a little bit more time to adjust the way that your body is currently functioning and write new pathways. And so I've really been working on it with my skin, but then also my cycle. And it's helped so much with my cycle, and it's also just helped so much with getting to know my body. Um, yeah. Does that answer it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I think that for people who are watching this, having like a visual representation of a before and after is gonna
I
be
was
s
gonna say that, but I didn't wanna, like, say that without you
yeah.
saying it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be super helpful for people to see just how powerful this practice is. And let's talk about the Akashic Records course. Let's segue a bit into how how this has helped hone in your psychic gifts and what you do now as a regular practice. Um, just for clarity, was it a couple years ago at this point? Was it a year ago? Why
I
I
would say
don't
it's probably, like, a year and a half ago.
you're probably right. We both took a course with our mutual friend who also does readings, and if you are a regular listener of this podcast, you can catch her on another episode, Mika Sami, and she does some she channels these what's called the Akashic Records, which is essentially like for visual purposes, it's like a web of infinite information. And based on the individual that you might or the collective that you might be channeling for, you're almost taken on this roadmap to that destination where you can have more clarity. But it's similar to a library. You have to ask, you have to be specific with where you want to go and how you want to get there, because it is an infinite web. But what was really cool witnessing you in this journey was like, first, your excitement when we were invited to join this course, but then second, the change from just like excitement to empowerment in yourself, right? Like there was like a serious confidence boost that evolved in a few months time. And I think that one of the blessings about intuition and really embracing an intuition is just that. What aside from that, like what were your major takeaways from taking this course and how you've incorporated some daily rituals into your life, or how have you started incorporating what you've learned in and made it your own into your path, your career path?
Yeah. Um, well, I think when I had my awakening, I never thought it would be I mean, I never even thought about it, like, before my awakening. I really was not spiritual at all.
Mm.
Not spiritual at all. But
Really?
then
This is
growing up
news to me. I always thought that you had like interest or like their curiosity. Nothing.
no,
Wow.
nothing. Literally, that's why when people I don't know, a lot of people that are in this world have that story of like, "Oh, my parents were into it," or, "Oh, like, I was into it," or, "Oh, I loved astrology in middle school," or I don't know.
So
But
so
yeah,
just a side note. So no wonder why it freaked you out so much when you first started like it seeing this like the
I
energetic
think it would
fields.
freak anyone out.
Yeah. Good point.
I think it would freak anyone out. But just imagine a head bopping up in front of you while you're sleeping. Um, I yeah, so I mean, maybe someone that I don't know. Maybe someone wouldn't think that was crazy, but, um, I wait, what was the question?
Just I asked a lot of mini questions and like one large one, which is my tendency. But I wanted to know, like, based on like outside of my observations for your
Yes.
evolution, like what were your major takeaways? How have you made it your own? How have you incorporated these things into your practice? What has shifted for you?
So, I feel like I never was into this, and I once I had my spiritual awakening, I started, obviously looking up these things and listening to channels and I for that tiny period before I had my awakening. So in 2020, I started listening to the tarot reading. So I was already kind of into that channeler world. I also just thought it was so cool. Like the people that I would follow, I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to do. But and I started reading books by Laurelyn Jackson and she writes the light between us, and just a lot of good like signs. I think that's another one of her books. I started, and also You Are Psychic. So I started reading all these books about like how people can be psychic, but I just didn't really have the tools to do that, you know? And I always wanted to though. Like being a medium, I thought was so cool. Still something I want to work on more. But then Mika, who we'd been doing readings for years, I did readings with Mika from 2021. So she's been through all of this with me. And then she decided to do a course like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago maybe. And we took it, and it was just the coolest thing ever because it put I think my mind really likes this too because 'cause I'm a Virgo, but it, like, put practical ways to conceptualize what was going on because I always, like, felt touches, I always felt energy, I knew I was sensitive, I knew I was very observant, I knew I could feel into things, I knew I could pick up, like, who liked who in a room and all of whatever. But I never knew how to call in my spirit team and talk about it in a way that made it an actual thing. And that's really what Mika's course did. And it just gave me the confidence to be able to do readings. And I feel like I talked about it, and then I had a friend be like, "Whenever you're ready, I'm ready for a reading." And so that was kind of my calling out for it, before I was even really ready, and then I just started doing readings, and then it just became one of the main things that I do. I do it more than human design readings now, and yeah, I think and now I am doing daily readings on my TikTok and YouTube, and it's just been so cool. And even after doing that, I'm basically, like, practicing it every day, but I did a personal reading for someone yesterday, and after doing these collective readings, the information just, like, channels so much faster. So it's really something that you practice, and it's really something that you can get better at, and so that's such a cool thing too. Yeah.
Have you found that by practicing daily, like it's become very clear what is intuition versus thoughts, or have the channelings become like just more you said it was they've become quicker and more fluid, but like have they when you get uh, um the clairvoyant channels, like, are they clearer for you, or is it the same as what you had experienced, just potentially, um
I'll I'll get clairvoyant channels sometimes, but a lot of what I experience is clairaudient, so I'm really hearing the messages, and then I also feel it deeply in my body. Um, and so, like, if someone has a pain, I'll feel that pain, or like someone has something up with their uterus, I'll feel my uterus, and so like it, and I've always had that, and even like I've had readings with people where they have back pain and they're talking about it and they're telling me, and then I'll have back pain for the next 2 days. So clearing and cleansing my energy after those readings are really important. But I don't even know if it's like I channel the information faster because sometimes there is a need to just pause and be like, what's coming through? But I do feel like there is definitely confidence that needs to develop through it because you kind of just got to let yourself go. Like you just got to and I've kind of always been able to be like, no, I'm not going to bring my thoughts into it. That's not usually the problem with me, but at the beginning it was a lot of doubt. So, and like, oh, this message is really intense. Should I tell this person? Or like, am I just making this up? Or like whatever. Like the doubt was a lot. Um, so I think just like flowing is just been the key to making it just, I don't know, come be true for people more.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more in terms of, like, the letting the doubt, like, kind of go to the wayside because it almost, like, I think we both experienced this when we were taking the course, but it like when you're listening to intuitive messages come through, it like happens so quickly, like or it's so subtle. And it's almost like when you do allow yourself, it feels like no, it's like we're how do I explain this? Humans are conditioned to think that like getting information is more challenging than it needs to be. And when we get into a intuitive flow state, things things do just that. It flows, and it can almost feel at times like too. And I'm saying this as a result of like flexing the muscle and practicing a bit, but it can almost feel too easy to the point where you can doubt. And and that's the issue. It's like you're like, "Wait a second, like, no, there's no way this information that I just got is real because it just flowed to me," right? Like, there's no way. It has to be more challenging than that. I'm gonna shove that to the side, right? And so I think that that's probably what you're talking about too.
I feel like, Joanna, that's crazy that you just said that because that's like we have so been conditioned for that belief. Like our intuition has totally been like kind of taken away in that way to be like knowledge, you have to work for knowledge, you have to like yeah, it's like hard to figure things out, all this stuff. That's so true.
I think too, it's like, sure, we're in this human experience. Like life is going to present challenges to us, right? There's no question about it. But we're so conditioned based on whatever the societal norms are to that life has to be more challenging than it is. And I think also given the times of like these great collapses that are happening, and we're getting a little deep here, but like because there's like all these like serious shifts that are happening on an infrastructure level, on a systemic level. It's like we have no choice but to accept that these things that have been presented to us as like saving us aren't as readily available. So what is readily available? It's going within at this point, right? Like and try and we have to be able to trust what's happening inside, which is easy if we let ourselves ground, if we let ourselves be. But that's almost like it's flexing this muscle of like so much ease that it's uncomfortable. And I think that's where a lot of people are like evolving into, and a lot of people are also equally resistant to evolving into.
100%. We've been programmed to think that things are hard, that things have to be hard. And that's like in knowledge and that's in work and getting money. Like we've been programmed to think that. And it's so important to like strip that away.
Yeah, which is also, like, where human design comes into place too, right? Like, because sure, we have the Claire channels that we all have the ability to access, but we're also all on this planet for unique gifts, right? And if you can explain a little bit too of like, okay, so we all have these intuitive channels, but we not all of us have the compass that is equal to each other. Like if that makes sense. Like the what is the word that I'm looking for? The authority in human design. So because we all don't share the same authority, like how we access that mind state could be different, especially if we're just starting. So are you open to sharing a little bit about authorities?
Oh yeah, authorities in human design.
Yeah.
Um Definitely. There's different authorities in human design and it helps with your decision making process. And diving into that is so freaking powerful and so helpful. And I can just give the example of my own because there's many, but I have emotional authority and that means that I actually need to take time before I make decisions and I need to ride my emotional wave. And you know how you're always like it's always said to like, "Oh yeah, just be decisive. Come on, just like decide, just like do it." It's like that was the opposite of what the advice that I needed for my own life. And once I learned that, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't have to be spontaneous. This is great." Like I don't have to do last minute things. I don't have to like, yeah, decide things when I'm at the height of my emotions, which no one should do, but it was really so freeing. But like your intuition is so much different as a reflector, and you're instructed to like wait an entire month cycle so that you can feel into the energy of yourself every single day. But then there's other there's other decision making authorities where you know, wanna, make decisions in the moment, and you're very good at that, and those people are really great to be around because it's like, "Oh my god, I can just, like you can help me make all these decisions." But there's a lot of different ones, and they can be really helpful and valuable in your journey and figuring that out and navigating the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a couple people, for example, who like they have the splenic authority, and it's like and it's just like it's a one-time whisper, and if you miss it, like good luck finding that again because you can't just do it in self-check. And so I think that being able to so that's a decision making process, but how it differs from intuition is like how do you explain that? Like, how do you explain a decision making or your authority versus like your intuition? If someone were to take like a psychic course with you, how would you
I think
differentiate?
it's like your authority is like how you take action towards the world.
Mhm.
Your intuition is like connecting within.
Mhm.
And I could probably go deeper into that, but it feels like your intuition is kind of that little voice, and it's not really the action behind it, it's the little voice. Your authority is kind of like, how do I take action towards this? You know, and for me, in an example, it's just like, oh, should I have a fight when I'm like already riled up? Like, no, I'm gonna take a minute to just leave the room. And so it gives you kind of like an action to do. Um, and obviously for people that have the immediate intuition in the moment, those lines get a little bit blurred, but I do think your intuition is also connecting you deeper to your soul
Mhm.
too, and what like your highest self and the choices that they make and the beliefs that they hold too.
Mhm. And for people who are deconditioning themselves, this like human design is such a good process. And also intuitive practices, but like human design is such a good resource to start getting out of utilizing the brain as your like decision making authority, because in the human design system it's indicative that that your brain is literally only intended for giving other people advice. It's a thinking modality that can help of the outside world. Everything else, like from the throat down, is intended for your compass. You know, it's intended to like connect all of your dots together. So I do think that if you are looking for clarity on what your decision making processes are, and and it can like I think that before we get to my last question, which um I want people to be able to be as protected as possible when they start deconditioning. And I think that you've had to do a lot of that like self-integration and protection methods for yourself, given your story of where you started to where you are today. I think that'll be helpful because yeah, when you start deconditioning yourself, it's scary, and, like, there can also it can be challenging because you're going to be shedding identities, and you're gonna be shedding stories, and you also could be opening yourself up to other worldly things, because the clearer that you become with your inner compasses, the clearer your connection is to whatever you want to call it, source, God, everything. And so I do think that understanding these like protection methodologies and understanding that all of the potentials of what is in these other dimensions is something that we should just get into as like the last thing. But before we do, where can people find you?
Oh my god, thanks for asking. I have to share this with everyone. We were literally going over this and practicing this because I was like, "I don't know. If you can find me, you can find me." No, I'm just kidding.
Use your intuition.
I what? Yeah, use your intuition, guys. Yeah. If you're meant for me, you'll find me. So I document my acupuncture and school journey on Helen's House of Healing on Instagram and TikTok. And then on YouTube and TikTok, I have other accounts which we will link here because I have to change the name. But they are channeling accounts that I channel every single day. And then I also have my Lighthouse community where I have live channeled readings, and it's a great spiritual community, and we have a blast, and I channel for everyone. I do a group channeling, and then everyone gets a little individual channel at the end too, and that's been a great experience, and I'll leave the link for that as well too.
Yeah, and that is on school, so skool.com/lighthouse. And you're so welcome. um but amazing. And so for the final question, I wanted to just dive in about, like you were saying at the very beginning, like there are good people and there are not good people. And just like that, in the energetic realms, there are good energies and there are not good energies. And as a result of that, we have to have discernment. So can we get into a little bit about your growth and maybe a little bit more of like how you started to flex the muscle of discernment and what you utilize as a to almost like get ahead of uh those sorts of things popping in?
Just we'll just get yeah, we'll just touch on this really quick. I was literally experiencing like the veil had just freaking lifted, and I was experiencing touches, I was experiencing, like, feeling the sensation of feeling burned, distracted, like, I would have to go from my parents' house to my sister's house back because I just felt like I was being, like, followed, and, like, it was just very scary. I had orbs of energy, like, jumping out at me, and I was just like a poor little baby who didn't know anything because I was like I literally remember going out to a field and being like, "Help me." And then like I didn't scream it like that, but I was just kind of like sending that out. But like I had no sense of how I needed to be protected, what was out there, and I remember literal sorry, we're getting really into this, but I remember literal orbs of energy like shooting at me and like hitting me and like burning me. And it was like it was just like so scary. So like obviously went through crazy spiritual psychosis, but like if you're getting into this world, like you need to learn how to protect yourself and you need to learn how to like stop those things from happening. And number 1, like, if you have an addictive pattern or if you're having a substance abuse pattern and these things are happening, like, that's, like, the first thing you could do. Because obvious things that, like, affect your health and your vessel are going to affect your frequency and bring you down lower and allow for, holes in your auric field and allow things to get through and attach to you. And that's often how addiction can happen and a lot of different things. But I first started to like realize this like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, where I went and I had a different reading, not with Mika, but with another reader, and she had gone through the same thing as me. And she was like, you need to be like turning your channel off and saying, like, my channel is closed, my channel is closed. And so I started doing that at night, and I started, like, actually, no, before that, I saw an astrologer. She told me to, like, sleep with selenite. I remember buying, like, selenite rocks, and, I've just picked up so many things over the years, I'm realizing, but, then I got my energy down to, like, to a place where I was holding a high vibe. Um, and that's basically the most important thing. You want to make sure you're at a high vibe. And that doesn't mean just like in a good mood. It means like your body is taken care of, you are sleeping enough, you aren't just like, because when you have these gifts, you're also more sensitive. So you're going to be more sensitive to things like alcohol. You're going to be more sensitive to things like drugs or whatever. So you just want to make sure you're protecting yourself. But then I learned a
But
lot.
also, just to also add
Yeah,
to
go
this,
ahead.
like, for people who might not even be in this world, but this might start resonating with you because let's say you've had a lot of like hardships in your life to a point where you feel like you might not have no other option but to start making changes, right? Like those hardships can lead you to such a place where, you might have had in on like all of these things literally guide you to a place where you are at your version of rock bottom, right? Even if you're not like aware of the energetic realms or anything that is going on, like if you catch yourself always in a victim state, meaning like, God, these things are always happening to me. Why can't I catch a break or something like that? Like this could be a reason why you are experiencing what you're experiencing because of maybe lack of these boundaries or lack of ritual or lack of something where on a physical realm, because the physical realm and these energetic realms are so deeply like mirroring each other, there's no separation. But if you only associate yourself or affiliate yourself with the physical realm, like this could be why, right? Like there are holes in your boundaries. There are holes in like your value system. There are holes in this. And like as Helen was saying, it's like there could also be holes in attachments in your auric field. So it's not different. It's all the same.
Yeah,
Um
totally.
so yeah, anyway, I just wanted to add that.
No. I just wanna add that really quick. No, yeah, it doesn't have to be. I mean, yeah, so many people are not seeing spirits, and but they have, like, negative attachments, and don't even realize it. But yeah, then I started getting into, like, crystal gritting, and then even this year when I started channeling group collective readings regularly, Joanna woke up in the middle of the night and was like, "Oh my god, Helen needs to be, bringing in an invisibility cloak." So Joanna introduced me to an invisibility cloak, and that's something that I wrap around my energy, and I picture, it completely enveloping me, and I declare that no low frequency energy can get within it. And that's been very helpful on my journey, especially channeling for bigger collectives, because like you're reaching a lot of people. Um, but it's just slowly developed over time, and constantly doing energy cleansing meditations, constantly cleansing my own energy, bringing in archangels. I didn't even mention that. Archangels rule different specific things, and specifically Archangel Michael, he's a great protector. And so there's like a lot of energy that you can bring in on the other side that will also be a protector. You can bring in your guides. And so it's just like all these little things that I picked up and that are really helpful. And also, even if if you're not experiencing things on this energetic level, these still can be very helpful.
Mm,
Um, yeah.
totally get it. Yeah, there's the boundaries behind and consistency behind it. It almost impacts the hygiene, as Mika was even saying in her course. It's like it impacts your energetic hygiene to a point where it's like, hey, if you clean, like you have to make sure you're doing a thorough clean, right? So you want to just be able to do that and building. And if you are alternatively into this world, right? And you want to and you want to create deeper connections um with the energies that will create good in your life, or positive change in not just your life but the people around you around yourself. It's like the more that you develop a relationship with your energetic field and the guides and everything, the stronger all of these inclinations become. And to your point that you said, you become more sensitive on the physical world to the things that just don't serve you anymore. So it really like, and not just food and alcohol. It's like you have the craving to like clean up and like change all the time, or you might have an urge to like just like stop scrolling on your phone all the time, or some, I don't know, anything. Or you just might notice different changes in like your day-to-day patterns as a result of it. Like it just is so deeply connected.
Totally. Totally. I mean, you're making us sound really great that we're like clean all the time. Definitely not clean
Oh
all
yeah,
the
definitely
time.
not.
But
No.
but no, it's I mean, I know I keep bringing up alcohol, but like now I haven't drank in like a year and a half, and it's just like, and my friends at school were asking me about that because they were like, "Oh, we haven't gone out and drank," and I just it got brought up that I don't drink, and they were like, "Oh, is that because of like, the psychic work that you do?" And I was like, I guess so. It just my intuition is never telling me it's a good idea anymore. Um,
Fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but like someone else that I know who's in the sober community brought this up at one point because she's also into the energetic world. She said it's like there's a reason why alcohol is called spirits,
I
because
always felt like that.
yeah, because it literally like can bring up anything. It like opens up these like portals, and that's why bars can feel really icky, because like all of a sudden like they're called spirits for that reason.
I literally was walking past a bar, like, I kid you not, yesterday, and I said to Bill, and I was like, I just like don't like being around this. Like, I don't like this. That's crazy because there are times where it's like I'm not judging people for drinking because I think you can just like any sort of thing, you can bring in an intention around it.
Mhm.
And so that's why it does feel good at times and it can like, be really fun and you can go to a great bar, but
Yes.
it's like the energy and intention around it. Like you can feel that. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Totally agree, totally agree. It's if you're going, like, even in the world of, like, utilizing, psilocybin or things like that, like, there's so many people who tend to use it, without an intention behind it,
Yes.
and that can be an issue, right? It could be a very slippery slope, again, leading to, like, addictions and whatnot. But if you are using it and and if you almost, like, set a prayer at the beginning of it, like, I'm going to have a really good time tonight utilizing this, and see how like the best things can come through for like that, and is an intention in and of itself. You don't have to have like some spiritual prayer that goes around it. If you want to,
Yeah.
you can.
No.
But that's like literally, like, to your point, just if you go to a bar, like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna be protected, I'm gonna have a really good time. Like, if you just
Yes.
say something like
Yes, and
that,
you say that intention. It's so powerful.
so powerful. Anyway, this was such a fun conversation. I'm so grateful that you took the time to share your story, and I hope as many people who listen to this are as impacted by your presence as I am. And I will see you on the next episode of the Coherent Collective podcast.
Thank you. Bye.